I'm Jonetta Rose Barris, the curator for this event. I'm also founding president of Esther Productions, Inc. And I want to thank you all for coming and making this a successful program. Without you, we couldn't do it, and we certainly couldn't claim success, which I think we can do today. I am going to be joined throughout the day by members of Esther Productions and by the co-curator, Bernard Dimchuk. So you will see me intermittently. I don't like microphones and cameras. But I did want to start off the program by basically giving you some idea of what we're here for. This is an important examination of DC's literary history and the role played by African American authors of children's literature in building canon and fortifying community. You know, we think of children's authors mainly as picture book authors. We don't understand their real economic and political power and influence in the development and fortification of a community. And these writers that we are celebrating today, and you will hear their names shortly, have actually led to the advancement of the African American community in this city and beyond. I cannot tell you where we would be without these creatives who have helped us to see ourselves, to believe in ourselves, and to appreciate our values. So I want to thank them, and we are going to do that in just a minute. The Black Student Fund is also a presenter of this event. Esther Productions has been working in partnership with the Black Student Fund for more than 4 years now. They are a viable partner to the work that we do, especially the work that we do around inspiring and empowering girls and women, particularly girls and women who are growing up without their fathers. But before we do anything, and I'll come back in a minute to tell you how we got to this place, but before we do anything, I want us to bring the proper energy and power in this room by calling the names, by reading the roll of the writers. Now, we don't know all the children's writers. We don't profess to know that. We don't know all the ones who were here, who are now gone, but we have a list, and if we miss someone, and you know someone, then please tell us. Leave their names at the front desk so the next time we read the roll like this, we can include that person. Addison Sweisser is the co-chair of Esther Productions, Inc. He will do the roll call of our authors.
Good morning. Thank you guys for coming out on a rainy Saturday morning. I want to read our list of brilliant writers. We have Kwame Alexander, Jabari Asim, Jonetta Rose Barris, Caroline Brewer, Gwendolyn Brooks, Sterling A. Brown, Ajoa Burrows, Maxine Clare, Lucille Clifton, Sheila Kreider, Marion Wright Edelman, Hohimatu Ra, Nkamit Michelle Y. Green, Eloise Greenfield, Leah Henderson, Carolivia Heron, Georgia Douglas Johnson, Joy Jones, Jennifer Lawson, Leslie Jones Little, Amina Lukman Dawson, Sharon Bell Mathis, Michelle Meadows, David Miller, E. Ethelbert Miller, Daphne Muse, Rahulamin Kwander, Jason Reynolds, Aisha Rice, May Miller Sullivan, sorry, Monica Valentine, Tricia Elam Walker, Derek Jacoby, Washington, Marita S. White, and Lakita Wilson.
And
Thank you.
let's give them a hand, a big hand. I watched earlier Sharon Bell Mathis and Sidney Clifton embrace, and Sharon got a little emotional. I have been emotional throughout this entire project, and people working with me know I have been emotional, and they'll calm down. But it is an emotional experience for me because I knew many of these writers. I was affected by many of these writers, especially Lucille Clifton, Eloise Greenfield, and Sharon Bell Mathis. They meant a lot to me. I love these women. I continue to be inspired by them. So I want to thank you all for giving them the praise that they deserve. Our co-curator, Bernard Demchuk, is going to read a resolution that we got from the DC Council. Yeah, you can clap whenever you want to clap. You can scream out loud if you want to. It's an emotional experience today.
Good morning, everyone. Janetta, stay emotional. Stop apologizing. Be angry. Be smart. Be emotional. Do your thing. Right? This is emotional stuff. And if it wasn't, it wouldn't be what it is, so popular and so essential to the development of our country and especially our African American community. And Jonetta, for somebody who's camera shy, you look pretty good this morning on that big screen there. So thank you all, and thank you, Janetta, for... Janetta has really been an extraordinarily driving, energetic force, and she will call you in the middle of the night and tell you what you've done wrong, and I love it because she has made me a much better scholar in the process. From the DC City Council, passed unanimously. African Americans and Children's Literature, a symposium and exhibition, ceremonial recognition, resolution of 2024. Whereas, children's literature written by African Americans, including authors like Sterling Brown, May Miller Sullivan, Eloise Greenfield, Lucille Clifton, hello, Sydney, E. Ethelbert Miller, Jason Reynolds, Kwame Alexander, Joy Jones, Tricia Walker, and others who have worked and lived in Washington, D.C., and have been an essential vehicle for conveying history and culture, Black history and culture, since the 18th century. Whereas African American children's literature is a necessary component of children of the African diaspora seeing themselves and others with empathy, diversity, critical thinking, cultural awareness, inspiration, role models, community building, improved mental health, and advanced academic performance. Whereas Black authors have had to struggle against various mainstream forces in America, including white supremacy, to ensure the authentic representation of African American history and culture through their books, including self-publishing and self-distribution by African American bookstores like Pyramid Books, Drum and Spear Bookstore, Sankofa, Busboys and Poets, Social Justice Books, and Mahogany. Whereas the success of African American authors of children's literature, the artists who illustrated their books, and the businesses and academic institutions that promoted their work, such as Carter G. Woodson's Association Publishers, Howard University, the University District of Columbia, the DC Library, among other supporters and patrons, all have contributed greatly to the socioeconomic advancement of generations of African Americans throughout the world, in the United States, and especially in DC, our nation's capital. Whereas, because of their creativity, advocacy, and sheer determination to ensure the accurate and positive historical cultural portrayal of African Americans around the world, African American authors of children's literature who lived and worked in Washington, D.C., made the district a vital contributor to the literary canon throughout the country and the New Negro movement, the Black Arts movement, and into the 21st century. Whereas, on March 2nd, 2024, the first African American Children's Literature Symposium and Exhibition supported by DC Humanities, being held on the campus of Trinity and presented by Esther Productions and the Black Student Fund, and others, will demonstrate the longevity, essence, and power of local and national authors and illustrators of African American children's literature. Be it resolved, the Council of the District of Columbia resolution may be cited as the African Americans Children's Literature Symposium and Exhibition Ceremonial Recognition Resolution of 2024. Thereby, the Council recognizes and celebrates the rich history, legacy, and future of Washington, D.C.'s African American children's literature community and declares March 2nd, 2024 as African American Children's Literature Day in the District of Columbia, passed 13-0 by the City Council. And what I love about this resolution is when you read it, you learn all sorts of new things. It's excellent. Thank you all. Thank you, Janetta.
Oh, watch yourself. Uh-oh. That's, you got it? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. He says there's a wire there. Thank you very much, Bernard. And I want to thank the Council of the District of Columbia for the lovely resolution that they gave us. And it is an unprecedented celebration of children's literature. And certainly, I don't remember, I've been covering the district government as a reporter for at least 40 years. I don't remember one day where we celebrated writers of children's books. And so, thank you. So we want to say once more before Anna comes up to introduce our opening speaker, who I am excited to have here and to hear her words and to know her, because like I said, I loved her mother. I love her mother. I love her mother's writing. Okay, I'm going to try to calm myself a little bit. We are grateful to the Humanities DC. Without them, we would not have been able to do this. So we are very grateful for them. And we are also grateful to Carrie S. Pearson, LLC, who also was one of our sponsors. Busboys and Poets, all of you who live in DC know Busboys and Poets and know Andy Shalal. And we also received a welcome letter from Mayor Muriel Bowser welcoming us and the opening of this event, so thank you to her as well. Anna Acevedo is our co-chair. She and Addison lead Esther Productions. She will now introduce our opening speaker.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being with us today. It's an honor to be here this morning for this really exciting day where we get to celebrate children's books and their authors here in Washington, D.C. and their legacy, and kind of learn more about how it has impacted our community and how it will continue with us as we move forward. It is a pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this morning, Ms. Sydney Clifton. She's an Emmy-nominated producer. She has produced children's and primetime content for Apple TV, BET, NBC, Showtime, Paramount, and the Hallmark network channel. She serves on the board of directors of the American Academy. I can't speak this morning. I'm sorry. I'm so nervous. She serves on the board of directors of the Academy of American Poets. My words they're in Spanish, they're in English. It's a lot right now for me. I'm still trying to wake up, so bear with me. Ms. Clifton's passions for supporting and developing the underserved community of writers, artists, and storytellers and creators was the catalyst to launch the Clifton House, a workshop and retreat space centered around her childhood home in Baltimore, where she grew up with her parents and her 5 siblings. Her father, activist Fred J. Clifton, and her mother, National Book Award-winning poet and author Lucille Clifton. It is an honor to welcome Sydney with us this morning. Please give her a warm welcome.
Thank you so much, Anna. And thank you, everyone, for, yes, braving this rain. My laptop is here because I have older eyes, so I need to be able to see my text here. All right, so bear with me one moment while I pull this up. Everybody doing okay? We still have everybody's attention? Okay, good. So I want to start with this story. About 30 years ago, my mother was giving a reading in New York City. A local elementary school asked if she'd be willing to come for a visit afterward and speak to the children, and she happily obliged. Then, as was her custom, after she spoke with the students, she asked to visit the school's library to check their selection, make recommendations, and mostly to see if they had her books in the library. They did not. So she said to the librarian, "I noticed you don't have any books about Black children." And the librarian said, "No, we don't." My mom asked, "Well, why not?" She said, "Because we don't have any Black children in this school." My mom said, "But you have books about bunnies." That was my mom. Years earlier, 1970, Lucille Clifton has 6 children in elementary school. 4 girls and 2 boys are active and curious and beautiful and unabashedly Black. In 1970, there's still unrest in our country. Her husband, my father, Fred Clifton, is active in the National Black Assembly, working toward racial justice and equity. She writes children's books that do not exist for her Black sons and daughters, celebrating their lives in all their rich and sometimes complicated glory. As we are all aware, in the 60s and 70s, while we were still fighting for representation in media, the mainstream children's literature industry did not pick up this fight. Books featuring Black protagonists written by Black authors published by mainstream publishers were all but non-existent. Books featuring Black children often perpetuated stereotypes or portrayed limited narratives. One exception that comes to mind is The Snowy Day, not by a Black author. A popular book published in 1963 that featured a Black main character. This book won the Caldecott Medal. Ezra Jack Keats was quoted stating, "All children should be able to see themselves in books they love." I cannot comment on his motivation. Whether or not his intentions were genuine, and despite the popularity of the book, there was little immediate impact on publishing of Black children's books by Black authors. Mainstream editors and publishers lacked, and in many cases still lack, understanding, appreciation, or real care about the value of diverse perspectives. That's not news. We all know this. Also not news is the fact that access to diverse literature is essential for Black children's sense of self and also for promoting empathy, understanding, and cultural competence among all children. The lack of representation in and access to Black children's books by Black authors limits opportunities for cross-cultural learning and contributes to a narrower worldview among young readers, which creates narrow-minded, dangerous adults who perpetuate the dangerous and divisive mindsets that still impact us today. Here is where our passionate independent writers, publishers, and booksellers have stepped in to bridge that gap, and we are grateful for this is sacred work. As a poet and children's book author, my mother described her job as providing mirrors and windows. Mirrors reflecting our own lives and windows into the lives of others, which can help us fully understand our kinship to the world at large. And this she brilliantly did, telling stories that reflected the various experiences of undeniably Black people, moments large and small. Mirrors and windows, and strong leaders, entrepreneurs, and advocates. This is what it takes. Because of my mother's success in poetry, her then agent Marilyn Marlowe at Curtis Brown, who was a strong advocate for her clients, was able to set up her books with mainstream publishers, primarily Dutton, Holt, Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston, and Henry Holt. Did having a white agent advocate who was once described as a bulldog help? Probably. But Mom's work also stood on its own. Her stories exhibited a radical beauty that helped build a foundation on which the storytellers that followed could solidly stand. A few of these stories, all beautiful, large and small. The Black BCs, which is a poem for each letter of the alphabet that celebrates the contributions and history of African Americans, past and present. Don't you remember? My brother fine with me, the boy who didn't believe in spring. Amifika, good, says Jerome. And the beloved award-winning Everett Anderson series of books written in verse. Some of the days of Everett Anderson's Christmas Coming, Everett Anderson's Year, Everett Anderson's 1, 2, 3, Everett Anderson's 9-month long, Everett Anderson's Friend, one of the problems of Everett Anderson, and Everett Anderson's Goodbye, a winner of the Coretta Scott King Award. And we're speaking of sort of continuing legacy of storytellers. I'm going to share with this group that I am currently working with the brilliant writer and 3-time Emmy nominee Keon Jackson to develop the Everett Anderson stories into an animated series for young children. We will be celebrating Black Boy Joy with a beautiful 6-year-old who lives in the projects with his mama. There is joy, to quote my mother's poem, even in the inner city, or like we call it, home. Lucille's cultural authenticity was not without controversy, however, even within the Black community. When her book, All Us Come Across the Water, illustrated by the extraordinary artist John Steptoe, was published by Henry Holt in 1973, there were critics who bristled at the concept of her using what was called colloquial Black spoken English in children's literature. She even got a letter from an elementary school teacher stating that she would indeed share the book with her students, but when reading aloud to them, she would change the title to All of Us Have Come Across the Water. Mom did not respond to that letter. I'm grateful that my mother's cultural integrity and creative courage would not allow her to submit to the fears of her critics. In her life and poems and her children's books, Lucille was honest, audacious, funny, nurturing, and courageous. That's what it takes for storytellers. Being mirrors and windows takes courage, passion, and persistence. And now I'm going to read All Us Come Across the Water, the way she wrote it. It's in the voice of a little boy in school named Ujamaa, who has issues with someone questioning his identity. I got this teacher named Miss Wills. This day she come asking everybody to tell where their people come from. Everybody from over in the same place supposed to stand up for themselves. When it come to me, I don't say nothing so she get all mad, because that make all the other brothers not stand up too. Won't you please cooperate with us, Jim, she say. I didn't say nothing because my name is Ujamaa, for one thing. So when the bell rings, she asked me to stay a little after so we can talk. We must not be ashamed of ourselves, Jim, she say. You are from a great heritage, and you must be proud of that heritage. Now, you know you are from Africa, don't you? She say. I say, yes, ma'am, and walk on out the place. First thing, my name is Ujamaa, and also Africa is a continent, not a country, and she says she want everybody to tell what country. Anyhow, I left. The other brother's waiting for me by the light. Malik say, that woman is crazy. She get on my nerves. Bo say, how come we didn't stand up, Ujamaa? We from Africa. I just go on home. Bo don't know nothing. My daddy's named Nat. I'm sorry, I done skipped a page. I got a sister named Rose. She's studying to be a practical nurse. When she get home, I ask her, Rose, where we from? She come talking about, Mama was from Rome, Georgia, and Daddy from Birmingham. Before that, I say, Mama's daddy from Georgia too. I mean before that, way back before that. She come laughing, talking about, there wasn't no way back before that. Before that, we was a slave. I could have punched her in her face. Rose make me sick. My daddy named Nat. He worked for the city. When he get home, I ask him, Daddy, where are you from? He say, what are you talking about, boy? I say, I want to know where did we come from? He say, we come up here from Birmingham after your mama died. I mean, back before that. Boy, I'm too tired to fool with you. Go ask Big Mama them questions. Ah. Y'all can pretend you don't see my hand shaking, okay? Just ignore it. Big Mama is my mama's mama's mama. She real old and she don't say much, but she see things because she born with a veil over her face. That make it so she can see spirits and things. I got up to her and I asked her, Big Mama, where we come from? She say, who? I say, us. Which us? That's how she talk. She say a lot of stuff you just have to figure out. I say, Big Mama, will you tell me where we is all from? I figure I got her now. She say, why you want to know? I tell her about the teacher and everybody. She say, my mama say her and her mama was brought from Wida in Dahomey in 1855. She say, my mama was 9 years old. That mean I'm from Wida? She look at me then. Nats people look like Ashanti people. They come from south in Ghana. That mean I'm from Ashanti people? She say, who are you, boy? I say, I'm Ujamaa. Shoot, she know who I am. It was her give me my name. She say, go on now then, I'm through. That's how she is. I got a grown man friend over at the Panther bookshop. Everybody call him Tweezer. We talk about things sometime, and I tell him what I'm going to be and all that. He always say, just you be a good brother, Ujamaa. Anyway, I thought I'd go on over and talk to him about things and everything. I waited till after dinner because we had red beans, which I love. Rose don't like old Tweezer much, so when she asks me where I'm going, I tell her over to Bose. She remind me to be home when the lights go on. Tweezer's sitting out in front of the store, got his wine in a paper cup. He old, but not as old as Big Mama. People talk about he used to run on the road, and before that, he went to college. He real smart. He know it, too, always thinking about he a juju man, know all about magic and stuff like that. He see me coming down the block and wave. Hey, Ujamaa. He kind of grinned. Hey, Tweezer. I grinned back. When I got up to the store, he made room for me on the bench. He didn't say nothing. He never do start first. I say, what's your real name, Tweezer? He say, I don't know. How come? It got left. I say, where? He say, in Africa. What you mean? When they stole my daddy's daddy to make him a slave, they didn't ask him for his name and he didn't give it. Well, what did they call him? He say, whatever he let him. Reckon he figure if they ain't got his name, they ain't really got him. I say, Big Mama give me my name. It mean unity. He smiled then. He start really talking. Long as your own give you the name you know it's yours. We name us. Everybody else just calling us something. But we name us. You named a good name. I ask him, Tweezer, we from all different parts of Africa. How we gonna say what country we come from? Tweezer say, we from all them countries, Ujamaa, all off the same boat. I say, some people tell me we wasn't all slaves. He say, wasn't none of us free though. All us crossed the water. We one people, Ujamaa. Boy got that name, ought to know that. All us crossed the water. The lights had to come on just then. I told Tweezer, see you later. Just be a good brother, brother, Tweezer told me. Man, I had a whole lot to think about. I'm supposed to lay real still because I sleep with my daddy and he got to go to work, but man, my mind was going to town. Thing was, what I mostly ended up thinking about was old Bo and old Malik and how they didn't even know what was the matter, but they went right along on with me, not standing up because we brothers. And Bo ain't even lived in this block that long, and his mama's from an island, but we all brothers anyhow. I thought about Tweezer and him and me being brothers too. All us come across the water. Somebody named Ujamaa ought to know that, and I went on to sleep. Next day, everybody in class looking at me, seeing what am I going to do. Miss Wills got her mouth all sad, thinking I'm ashamed of something. Pretty soon she say, let us continue yesterday's social studies lesson, children. We will excuse Jim from the lesson this time. Just when she say that, I jump up and stand straight as a king and look right at her and say, Miss Wills, my name is Ujamaa, and that mean unity, and that's where I'm from. Man, Malik and Bo stand up right up too, tall as me and just grinning. We all stand there a while and she don't say nothing. Shoot, she don't even know what we talking about. Thank you. That was radical in 1973. All right. So our lives, our voices, specificity. 1973, writing a children's book referencing being born with a veil over your face and talking to Big Mama in the neighborhood Panthers bookstore and a brother with wine in a paper cup, that was revolutionary. My deepest gratitude is to the participants in the symposium, to the passionate, talented writers, illustrators, entrepreneurs, booksellers, and independent publishers who have taken up the call to action for our children's sake, showing them that there is a future and all of them are in it. And finally, I need to call out one of my Black author inspirations and sheroes, Ms. Sharon Bell Mathis. Miss Sharon's book, Listen for the Fig Tree, was one of my all-time favorite books as a young girl, and I believe it played a great part in my path toward producing. You might not remember this, okay, but after I read that book, I'm 12 years old, and I was that kid. I sent her a letter for casting suggestions when it became a movie because I was sure that was going to happen. And she was very kind. She answered me and said, yes, well, that's a good idea. That would be lovely. So she answered a 12-year-old kid who had the nerve to say, like, when they make the movie, you should tell the producers to have these people. But that's that you saw me and you acknowledged me, and I saw myself in your books. And it is provided part of the foundation for me as a storyteller. So I thank you. Today is then, I'm grateful for the stories and I'm honored to be in the company of everyone in this room. Mirrors and windows, creative courage, passion, and persistence, pass it on. Thank you.
So we're going to take just a couple minutes to allow the panel, the first panel, to get themselves in place. Meanwhile, we do have an exhibition down the hall in Social Hall. If you haven't been there, kind of walk through really quickly is what Leroy told me to say. He's walking in now as I'm trying to remember what he said. But I wanted to mention Loy Nimhart, who is with Humanities DC, and we want to single her out and thank her so much for providing the support for this. We also, I'm happy that some of the presenters have arrived early. Ethelbert Miller's here, Sharon Bell Mathis here, Kwame Alexander's here, Joy Jones is here. So don't let them, you might sneak up to them and say, can you sign my book? Or can you give me your autograph? Or whatever. But I just want you to know that they're here in your atmosphere, in your space, to both honor you and for you to honor them as well. So this is a really great exchange that we have going on. Leroy is going to now pick it up.
Good morning. My name is Leroy Nesbitt. I'm a Washingtonian. And as a executive director of an organization concerned and worried about Black intellectual development, not just the survival of our kids in the schools, not just the graduation from high school, but the academic heights that a generation of folks created the possibility for. As a man who runs such an organization, I'm overwhelmed to be here today because I know that we now live in a time when no Black mother, no Black father, no Black grandmother, no Black aunt would ever raise a child without them having on their shelves in their house books about Black children. That we have reached a point of great success because I can tell you that I talk with hundreds of Black mothers, and they all talk about this literature. It's all part of what their children are growing. So today is an important day because we're here to celebrate what is a rich piece of our culture in our society. And I could talk forever because I'm just an old country lawyer. But I'll tell you that you must go down the hall now for just a minute, and preview what has been created in these panels of information. And you'll see these panels again, not only today, but you'll see them across the city. You'll see them in schools. You'll see them in exhibit halls, because we're going to tell this story, not only today, but into the future. And Janetta, you know that many of us in here are with you. We're behind you, we're in front of you, we're to your side. This is really good stuff. And if you can't tell how excited I am on a rainy day, then you just ain't feeling me. So please take a moment, just a moment, and walk down. Now, the panels are literary rich, letters rich, humanities rich, with the history and the stories of these people and the literature and the things that they've created in this great thing that some call America. So take a minute to just glance at them when you go down, and then later in the day we have appointed times for you to go back and do your deep reading. But I'm going to tell you, you're going to leave here after you read these panels, and you're going to tell these stories that you saw on these panels to others. You're going to tell them to librarians. You're going to tell them to children. You're going to tell them to mothers and fathers, because there's so much information there that we didn't know. So take a minute, look at it, and then come back and we'll be starting up.